So my name is Dr. Kristina Sule. I'm a consultant obstetrician and gynecologist, a general and cosmetic gynecologist. I run my own private practice called Alora Medical Practice. I was born in Kiev, in Ukraine. My parents were students then, two Kenyan parents. My parents then moved to Kenya before I turned 1 year old. I went to All Saints Cathedral Nursery School, and then I went to St. George's Primary School, and then I went to Precious Blood Secondary School, Riruta. And after that, I was in Strathmore University for a very short time, exploring a career path that I eventually did not take. And then I joined Nairobi University to do my undergraduate degree in medicine, my MBCHB. Shortly after working, I then rejoined University of Nairobi to do my master's in obstetrics and gynecology. And following that, I trained in cosmetic gynecology and several other related courses in the cosmetic gynecology field. I always knew that I wanted to become a doctor since I think I was 12. And by the time I was 16, I knew that I wanted to become an obstetrician in specific. I knew that I wanted to deliver babies and to help pregnant women. However, when I finished high school, before my results came out, I had a bit of a shift in what I thought. I thought maybe I should pursue law or a business-related study. And so to be able to explore that and to know for sure whether that was going to be a possibility or not, I decided to join Strathmore University to do a CPA. And then while I was there, I realized that it's probably not for me. And so I did the first section, and then I decided that yes, actually I did want to be a doctor, and it was the right thing for me. So it was good to kind of be able to close that chapter for good. When I was around 6 years old, I traveled to the Ukraine, and I lived with my grandma for about 3 years. And I came back and rejoined the primary school that I had left, St. George's Primary School. And it was very difficult. I barely spoke English. I did not speak any Swahili. I knew a lot of math. I knew a lot of music to a very high extent. But then there's a lot of subjects that are taught in Kenyan schools that I had no idea about, like geography, history, art, craft, home science. It was a very difficult adjustment when I came back, but I adjusted quite quickly. And then I managed to become top of my class quite fast until I finished my primary school education. And then I went to high school, which was also a culture shock. Because I'm the only child and I'd never been away from my mother for that long. And so when I joined a boarding school and one like Precious Blood Riruta, which is, very strict, very focused on bringing a girl into a certain, way that they feel is, religiously correct, morally correct. It was very difficult for me. It was very strict. I hadn't grown up like that. My mom, she is not a medical doctor. She's a trained pharmacist, and then she chose a completely different career path and went into law. And so she did her undergraduate in law, her master's in law, and PhD in law. But at the time that I feel that she made that influence for me is when I actually came back from Ukraine and rejoined my primary school. And I wasn't performing very well, of course, because of language barrier and other challenges. And I feel like she kept on insisting and telling me that, you could be anything that you wanted to be. And I remember once asking her, like, even a doctor? And she'd be like, even a doctor. And so I feel that that influenced me quite a bit. And I'm usually a very decided person. And so when I made that decision at 12, it was more of like, so how do I get there? It wasn't like, oh, I think maybe I made the wrong decision, this is something, maybe I could do something different. No, it was more of like, okay, so how do I now get there? And so she was like, okay, so the first way to get there is to be top of your class, to go to a good high school. And so I feel like I kind of followed her instructions and her parenting to be able to get myself there. But yes, I would say she was quite a big influence and still is in my career path. My career journey into cosmetic gynecology has not been an easy one. When I finished my high school, I actually got an A minus, and that I think really disappointed me because I wondered, is it then going to be possible to become a doctor? Because you basically need a straight A to be a regular student in the University of Nairobi. But I was very fortunate and blessed that my parents were able to cater for me to join the parallel program and still be able to become a doctor. When I joined med school, my first year, I felt like it was so difficult. I really did think, oh my goodness, this was a horrible mistake. It's very tough, it's very demanding. There's lots of hours required, there's lots of commitment. Medical students, I believe, do not enjoy the kind of social life that other students in other courses enjoy, and it's a sacrifice. And so that the first year is usually very difficult, but I think by the end of the first year, you're able to determine whether this is something you think you can continue with, or whether this is something you'll have to leave. And so I think by the end of that year, I was sure that yes, it's very difficult, but I think this is something that I can continue with. And so I went on to finish my undergraduate training, and then I joined the Aga Khan University of Nairobi for my medical internship. That was also a very tough year. There was a lot of new learning that had to be done, a lot of adjustment from being a student to now being a doctor, because you have all the medical information, but you don't know how to apply it. And so eventually they do teach you, how to apply it in a medical internship. So I did not work with the government like most of my colleagues did. And then afterwards, I joined Gertrude's Children's Hospital, and I worked there for about 2-3 years. And that was a really good experience. Gertrude's was a really good employer for me because they allowed me to be able to explore what I knew now I wanted to do, which is obstetrics and gynecology. So as I worked there, I volunteered in Pumwani Maternity Hospital for about a year, and then I volunteered in Kenyatta National Hospital for about a year and a half to be able to gain experience to join my master's training. I had a lot of support from senior colleagues and mentors who were consultant obstetricians and gynecologists who really encouraged me. It was difficult working in Gertrude's wanting to be a gynecologist because everyone assumes that when you work there you want to be a pediatrician, so it was a little bit different for me. I enjoyed treating my patients, I loved working with children, but I really did know that I wanted to deal with obstetrics and gynecology. And so after several attempts to join the obstetrics and gynecology masters, because it's quite competitive, I did finally manage to pass and get in. That was also a challenge because I was a self-sponsored student, meaning that I was not attached to the Kenyan government in any way. I was not sponsored by them. I was not receiving any salary or stipend from the Kenyan government. I was fully self-sponsored. And just after internship, I got married, so I received a lot of emotional and financial support from my husband throughout my master's training, because you have to pay your own school fees, and there's also bills that have to be paid. And we welcomed our first child during my master's training, so that's another blessing but also challenge that I had to face. And so I feel like I would definitely not have been able to do it without the support of my husband and my family and my mentors. It was very difficult, but the biggest challenge came when I finished my master's training and now I could not get permanent employment following my training as an obstetrician and gynecologist, because for the government usually you're bonded. So you go back to the county that bonded you and you basically have employment. But for me, I had no such employment because I had no contract with the government. And so I had to start looking for permanent employment. So I would get part-time employment, but nothing permanent came through for quite some time. And that's what made me decide to go into private practice, because cosmetic gynecology is something that had piqued my interest in my final year of master's. I thought about it, but I had done so much work related to high-risk pregnancy and maternal-fetal medicine that I thought maybe that's the area that I should go to. And I'm sure a lot of my colleagues are very surprised because I did well in that area and I enjoyed it so much. And then when I was unable to get employment, I started looking for work in the UAE. And when I did that, I realized that some of the doctors there had trained in something called cosmetic gynecology. And I've always liked precision and symmetry and beauty. And when I started reading more about it, I was like, oh, this is definitely where I belong. Because the kind of work that I do, I like to have a lot of attention to detail. I like, things to be eventually beautiful. And I didn't know that there was an area in gynecology that you could make women feel beautiful aesthetically for their female genital structures. And so I definitely quickly went into that. I finished my training in cosmetic gynecology, became a member of the European Society of Aesthetic Gynecology, and basically pursued that for bringing these therapies that women are enjoying all over the world to Africa, and specifically to Kenya, so that Kenyan women can enjoy them as well. Cosmetic gynecology entails improving of the aesthetic and functional quality of female genital structures, and in the process it also alleviates pain. So the number of clients that I get and their issues are very varied, but at the end of the day what we want to do is improve the external appearance of the female genital structures, but also improve the function of those structures, and that's usually the sexual function and the reproductive function, and also to alleviate pain. So for example, a client would come and tell me that for example, that she has, that the appearance of her female genital structures is not pleasing to her. Maybe there's asymmetry, or maybe there's something that is causing her discomfort in her daily activities like walking or being able to exercise. And so when I examine and I see that truly there is asymmetry and there is something that is causing her, lack of function, and then we can either non-surgically or surgically correct it, so that not only is the appearance improved for her, but also she's able now to carry out her activities. Other things, for example, are women who have female sexual dysfunction. Those are a large majority of my clients. Women who have issues with their sexual experiences, either with arousal or being able to achieve an orgasm, or even pain during sexual intercourse, and I'm able to treat that through the various modern therapies that are part of cosmetic gynecology. I advocate for women to undergo a cosmetic gynecology procedure for themselves. And as much as I say that these procedures are for the woman and should be for the woman, it will be very unfair and actually ignorant of me to say that women do not do this for men. There are women who do this to save their marriage, to improve the quality of the relationships that they're having, and I don't think that's something that women should be ashamed of either. I think if you do feel like this is something you need to do for yourself and your partner or your spouse, then you should go ahead and do that. But an African woman will have 6, 7, 8 deliveries. She may be a woman who has undergone FGM and now, feels emotionally inferior or embarrassed, or even just functionally she's not able to have normal sexual function, or even subsequent normal deliveries after that process of FGM. And so I feel like as a cosmetic gynecologist in Africa, you may not be paid as much, but you're sorting out a bigger problem than you would be in the West. And the good thing with cosmetic gynecology is that most of the results are more or less immediate. We don't have to wait very long. Like for example, other professions where patients take so long to go through a therapy, or they have a chronic illness that they have to treat for years. For us, the results are more or less immediate, and I think that's a good thing for me. My husband is not a doctor. He's a private equity investment manager. And I would say that he completely 100% buys into my dream. He supports me not because I'm his spouse, but because he actually believes in what I do. He has 2 sisters and was more or less raised by his mom. So he does believe in women, achieving the best in their lives, not just career-wise or financially, but also physically and emotionally. He does get fascinated by the treatments that I perform, which is a good thing. And sometimes it's nice to hear a non-medical view of what women need. And I think he offers that to me as well. I would encourage my child to pursue this career, but maybe I'm biased. Maybe I would want to encourage her because I enjoy it so much, and maybe that is something that she may not enjoy. And she's only 4.5 years old, but she has expressed severally that she does not want to do what I do. And that she prefers to probably do what her dad does. Of course, her understanding right now is different, and I do believe that her mind may change. My sisters-in-law are my clients, and it doesn't make me uncomfortable at all. Initially, it did, only because I didn't want to make a mistake with them. But I think when I attended to the first one and I saw, oh, this is just like any other patient, then they quickly became my clients. And yes, I do offer them services, and it doesn't make me uncomfortable in any way, because my aim is always to give all women the best services. And if they believe that my services are the best for them, then I'm happy to give them those services. So to the girl watching this, who maybe has been told that you can't pursue a particular field or a particular career, there's two things that I'd like them to know. The first one being that you can pursue anything that you want to pursue, and you can do well at it, and you can be the best at it. But it is going to require a lot of effort, a lot of sacrifice, and a lot of discipline, and a lot of determination. And I would say pursue it until you get it.